YouTube fam, what is up? Thank you so much for checking out this video. My name's Alex and let's talk some drums. And today we're going to look at some of the drum parts to a song called Fresh Wind by Hillsong Worship. There's not a ton of drums throughout the entire song, but there are two sections I want us to look at, one being the second verse and then the bridge section where what is being played is pretty interesting based on where the notes are being placed. Now I don't mean to, but I'm about to sound like a broken record because if you've watched any number of my videos on my channel, specifically my lesson videos, you will know that I talk a lot about 16th notes. Now just when it comes to worship music and specifically what the drums play in worship music, so much of it revolves around 16th notes. So yet again, if you don't have a firm grasp of 16th notes and the 16th note subdivision grid within a 4/4 time signature, I seriously encourage you to do that. Get it locked in the memory bank so that you have a firm understanding of all of the potential places that notes could be placed along the 16th note grid within a measure of 4/4. Now, if you have a firm understanding of that, then everything that we are about to go over is going to be a piece of cake for you to pick up because it all revolves around 16th notes. So let's get into it. Now, the first thing that caught my ear when listening to this song, and it's very subtle, and it's probably recorded as electronic drums, and it's going to be labeled as a percussion track most likely, but it's a very subtle little beat that comes in kind of the interlude or the instrumental leading into verse 2 and carrying on into verse 2. Now, depending on your preference, some of this stuff may sound better and more realistic to the song being played on some kind of an octopad or a Roland or something where you can get that electronic drum sound. But for the sake of this video, we're just going to learn this stuff and how we can apply it to an acoustic drum set. Now, when the beat kicks in after the first chorus and going on into verse 2, there are three different things that happen that we're going to piece together to form this one beat. The first one being the consistent rim clicks that you're going to be hearing as 16th notes. Those are played constantly and at one dynamic, and those do not change. Then there's only two kick patterns that are played per measure, and those are going to fall on the 1 and the of 1. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Now what gives this beat its little bit of spice is what is recorded probably as an electronic snare sound, but what we are going to put on the actual snare. And there's one pattern that happens the first pass, and then the second pass of it, there's a slightly different variation of the same beat that's played. So for the first measure on the snare, we're just going to play 4 notes, but it's where these notes are placed that are important. So these are all ghosted notes except for the 4th note. So the first 3 are going to fall on the of 2, the E of 3, and the of 3. And then we're going to have kind of a backbeat snare pop on the 4. So if we verbalized what we're going to try to play, and I cannot encourage you enough to do this when you are trying to learn parts, it is just going to help you internalize them and understand and process what you're playing so much quicker. Then what we would have is 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. Now, the only different variation we have for the second measure and the second pass of this beat is we're adding 2 notes at the beginning of the groove on the snare. So everything from the first pass stays the same, but we're going to add 2 more notes on the E and the and of beat 2. So again, if we verbalized it, we would have 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So the song is played at 63 BPM, which is pretty slow, but again, when we're playing a ton of 16th notes, it feels a little faster than it is. So we're going to bump this all the way down to 50 BPM and play this beat super slow so we can really process and hear all that's played, and then we'll bump it up to our OG tempo of 63 BPM. Let's check it out. All right, so then that takes us to the bridge, which is where we find our next kind of interesting beat and series of beats that gets played. So there's three different things that happen as the bridge builds. The first, it starts with this trap snare beat that's being played. We've all heard it in tons of different music, even if we didn't realize that's what it was. Bop, 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 bop. So again, the key to unlocking what is being played and where it's being placed is found in our 16th note. So we would have 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a little faster. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. That is really hard to count out the faster you get. All right, so let's just play this snare beat with our OG tempo of 63 by itself just to hear how it sounds against the click. Now, as the bridge continues to build, the only thing we're going to add for the second section is a kick on all of the quarter notes. So you're putting a kick on the 1, 2, 3, and 4 and keeping that snare going. Now, the only subtle thing that they add, again, which is just preference, but if we're trying to stick as closely to the song as possible, at the end of each measure, before they repeat the beat, there's a couple little snare notes that are added in. Again, it's just giving a little more to the listener's ear besides what was played in the first section to just keep the beat and the music building. So again, let's just play that 63 BPM against the click and see what we got. Now, I'll be honest, the one thing I really struggled over when listening to this song and trying to break down exactly what the drummer was playing just by listening was, is he adding in hits on the ride cymbal as he's playing this second part of the beat? So if we wanted to give this beat a little bit of an advanced feel for the second section, what we could do is also add in hits on the ride cymbal that are matching up with our kick on the quarter notes. So then some of what you're going to be playing on the snare is going to have to be played with just your one hand. So let's check out what that would sound like. Again, 63 BPM just with the click. I'm personally a big fan of adding that little element, even though it makes the beat slightly more tricky. What it's doing is just keeping the beat evolving as the bridge and the music is building. So for the most part, throughout everything that's played on the bridge, that little snare ostinato we have, if you will, is what is kind of the theme driving through the entire bridge back into the chorus. But the final beat, when things are really building to kind of a crescendo moment, the drummer kind of loosens up with what he's playing, and he doesn't play the exact same things every single time. So for the third final beat, the kick is going to jump up to be playing as eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We're also going to add a little bit more of what we're playing on the ride cymbals, so we're either going to add eighth notes on the ride or even 16th notes, depending on if you want to give the cymbals a little more wash to fill in the beat. Now again, this last part of the beat of the bridge is kind of fluid because what's being played on the snare is kind of changing every single measure. So to either help you to figure out every single note exactly through that last portion of the bridge beat of what is being played, or to help you be creative in your own way while still sticking to the skeleton and the bones of this beat. So I want to give you an exercise that you can work on sitting behind the pad, playing on your leg, or sitting behind the kit and playing on the snare. And all we're going to do is play consistent 16th notes with our snare hand. And what we want to try to do as we're working through the exercise is be creative and just let the different dynamics free flow. I just want you to keep those 16th notes going at a low dynamic to start, and then as you go, just play around with the dynamic dynamics. Create different accent patterns as you go, again, to get that non-dominant hand on the snare comfortable with playing consistent 16th notes that don't stop, while also having the freedom and the control to change the dynamic levels and the accent patterns to whatever you would like. So let me give you an example of this exercise just by itself, just on the snare with my left hand alone, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So now I'll give you an example, putting that exercise to work within the framework of this beat, what that could potentially sound like if you got accustomed to being able to do this and really control those notes, and how this could work itself out and really help you do this beat justice. That's all I have for this one, and I hope with these lesson videos, I don't want to just teach you and show you the specific parts that are played to this specific song, but I also want to give you concepts, exercises, things to think about that are going to help you grow and challenge yourself as a drummer overall, but also to help you specifically play and kill the parts to the songs that we're learning. Thanks a ton for watching another lesson video. If you haven't yet, would you please like and subscribe to the channel and even hit the bell notification to keep up with everything as more videos come out. So thanks again for hanging with me, and I will see you in the next one.